A repatriation pōwhiri held at Te Papa yesterday morning marked the return of Māori and Moriori ancestral remains that were stolen more than 140 years ago. The kōiwi represent the remains of around 64 individuals, 49 of which were collected by Austrian or stolen by Austrian taxidermist and notorious grave robber Andreas Reischek, who spent 12 years in Aotearoa from 1877. The acting head of repatriation at Te Papa, Te Ariki Rangi Mamaku Ironside, is with us now. Tēnā koe e hoa. Thanks for joining us.
Tēnā koe, Neil. Nice to see you again.
You too, brother. This repatriation concludes 77 years of negotiations between New Zealand and Austria, and you've personally been working closely with colleagues in Austria over the last little while. What have these negotiations involved?
A lot of us involved building the campaign that was actually first set by our tūpuna in the 1940s and the 1950s. And so it's been a very, very long time coming, but significantly for this particular return, it's really started making traction in 2017 with a visit of a small delegation led by Tainui Kaumātua Taki and Rātou Turner and Te Rikeke Hirawini and Moana Parata to really re-establish the working relationships to bring our institutions together and to provide the context and the importance for these tūpuna to return home.
Te Ariki Rangi, what can you tell us about the nature of the remains that have been returned?
So they're predominantly skulls and a series of loose mandibles. And these were, of course, mostly stolen by Andreas Reischek during his 12 years in Aotearoa. But there are also a number that are associated with the Austrian Novara scientific and ethnographic expedition in the 1850s and 1860s. Part of the tūpuna that came back were also traded by Julius von Haast, and so there's many different dimensions and layers to all of these tūpuna that are coming home that are associated with the Te Tokero, Te Awa Tupua Wanganui, Te Waipounamu, and Te Rekohu Wharekauri.
Now, in his diary entries, grave robber Andreas Reischek even boasted about eluding Māori surveillance while looting tapu places. It seemed like a cut and dried case. Why has it taken so long for this repatriation?
For the most part, it's required, and we're very familiar in our work with Karanga Aotearoa and repatriation over the last almost 20 years, is that it requires a certain alignment of stars, so to speak, a planetary alignment. So you need a favourable conditions at a political level, the correct political environment, a director and a board of an institution that is in favour of having a dialogue with Indigenous communities around sensitive objects, tūpuna and taonga that are in their collections, but also having a level of support from the anthropological departments, from the anthropology departments and the curators that are responsible for these collections, because a lot of the research that the reports that go to the governments and to the directors is generated at that level. And thankfully with Professor Dr. Sabine Eggers, head of the international collections at the Natural History Museum, she was very much in favour of these tūpuna coming home and establishing a really, really clear framework on having a look at Reischek's diaries, reinterpreting those diaries and actually getting a better picture on what they actually recorded.
Okay. Now, you were obviously at the ceremony yesterday. I'm sure there were mixed emotions, some of joy, some of sorrow, acknowledging that the kōiwi were stolen, and in the words of Pou Temara, with no regard for Māori communities they belong to. What was the overall wairua like, and who else was there for this special event?
Understandably, the range of emotions can go from like deep sorrow and mamai and sadness all the way through to joy that these tūpuna are finally home. And present at the pōheri yesterday up on Rongo Maraeroa and Te Honoki Waiki were Te Whare Tapu o Ngāpuhi, So iwi from Ngāti Wai all the way up to Whangaroa, Ngāti Whātua, all of them. So we heard about at least 8 different iwi that represents all of the different wai tapu that these tūpuna that were stolen by Raishek are associated with. But of course we had Te Awa Tupua there and also representatives from Wharekauri, Rekoi Wharekauri, or the Moriori whānau there. So by the end of the day, it was one of celebration, but also we need to understand that this is only the halfway point. So these tūpuna don't belong at Te Papa. The big goal for our program and our kaupapa is to actually take them home.
Look, amazing work. Really appreciate that. Acting Head of Repatriation at Te Papa, Te Arakirangi Mamaku Ironside. Thank you so much for your time today, and we appreciate the important mahi you and your team are doing. Ngā mihi.
Ngā mihi, Neil.